Anybody can see the other videos if you want to kind of keep up or catch up on the UFO task force documentation, or I should say the DNI, the Director of National Intelligence UFO report. I've done multiple videos on it. I think those videos are quite good, and so definitely go back and check those. This video is just going to move the ball slightly. Right now, the first thing that the report is doing, and the only thing that the report is doing, is setting credibility. It's saying it's legitimate, it's real. Over 40, 50, 60 years that this has been ridiculed and everything else, okay, fair enough, you got us. You're right. It's a real thing. They're physical matter objects that we are encountering. There's a there. This is not interdimensional fish. This is our palettes viewing things, multiple palettes. This is radar picking it up at the same time. This is multiple devices being able to pick up and record the movements and the capabilities of various systems that we're encountering. It's real. That's what this report is. It screams that it's real. It screams for more research and information. And at this point, from the standpoint of government, from the standpoint of media, this is now a flat fact reality, because the Department of National Intelligence, Director of National Intelligence, in coordination with pretty much every alphabet soup agency, has stood by and has put out this report. I know that because each and every agency is listed in the report saying we stand by this report. The report takes direct aim and attacks the giggle factor and the ridicule associated with it, making the point that that is hampering scientific progress and scientific investigation of this item. And you think back over 50, 60, 70 years, and you think back to all of the stories that those people kept to themselves, the things that those people were seeing, our pilots, people we trained to the tune of billions of dollars worth of training, that because it was odd, because it was exotic, because it was dramatically different than what we were accustomed to, because it was doing things that we are not accustomed to seeing, and on some level may break our paradigm in regards to capability and physics. They didn't report it. They would keep it to themselves. They would talk about it in hushed tones with a glass of tequila or a glass of beer, and they would talk about it in private. But these weren't necessarily things that they were recorded, nor was there really a place for those things to be recorded. And if you're a pilot and you say, I saw something go at Mach 5 and then make a right turn, okay, well, do you really want to report that? And do you really want to take the chance that they think something is wrong with you when you do report that? This document says that that time is over. Now, the document, like I said, is not taking the step of, the document basically says we don't know what it is. That's all it says. It goes further, saying we need research and everything else, but the document just basically says we don't know what it is. But is that true? Is that true? Meaning, if China is a new actor to the stage, okay, fair enough. And Russia basically collapsed at one point with the Soviet Union collapsing, meaning we knew on some level what is in their inventory. Then, do we believe that the people in the Pentagon, or the people who are encountering this, are unclear on whether or not it's us or not? Meaning, if it's not us, meaning if it's not the United States, we've already said this issue is real, okay? So we're stuck with this notion of there's a real physical matter issue that we're dealing with. And it's either our secret tech, meaning, unacknowledged access projects. It's either Russia or it's either China. If it's Russia or China, because they've taken us off the table, meaning this document has taken the United States off the table on this. So the document, we're stuck with somewhat of a issue, right? If it is Russia and China, then we need to understand, and it needs to be explained to us, how they were able to leapfrog us in technology. We spend $1 trillion a year on our military. We need to understand the pathways to which they did that. We need to understand the steps that they took in order to make that leapfrog, to create a disruptive technology in the way that they call it. That needs to be explained. The state or the actor that is involved in this, that has this technology that is more advanced than our own, again, that needs to be explained. Who does the government believe is holding onto technology that exceeds our own? That needs to be explained. And I don't necessarily think it's wrong for me pointing on that, considering we spend $1 trillion of our purse in military. that is 8 times what the next nations combined spend, the overwhelming majority of those nations being our allies. This needs to be explained. By virtue of them saying it is not us, they're leaving you with a certain perspective. If it's not us, then who is it? And if it is not us, which actor developed the capability? They know it's not us. Meaning, the Pentagon, Defense Department would know, they would have to know, whether or not these capabilities are our own. The catch here is, though, it doesn't really matter whether they know or not. What you're going to get is sausage making. You're going to get a slow, plodding process where they do reports, where they do congressional investigations, where one step after the next inexorably limits what it can be until the final assessment is clear, because it got there, taking forever to do so. But you must understand that taking forever to do so is desensitizing the public to the final answer in regards to what it is. Now, not everybody is playing along with this. There are some people who've taken and basically said, look, it's not us. And this is not just me saying this. This is various members who basically had access to the classified documentation and came back and said such. Right here, I want to read a few things. And I'm just going to give you other people's perspective who had the capacity to see the classified documentation. And I want to leave you with what they are saying, not just what I am saying. This is the report itself. Right here. Now keep in mind, the report was constrained, meaning they only took a few years, and within the context of a few years, they only took a few items, and within the context of a few, except I hope you understand what I mean. But even with that, they still ran into national security issues. In 18 incidents described in 21 reports, observers reported UAP unusual movement or patterns, flight characteristics. Some UAP appeared to remain stationary in winds aloft, move against the wind, maneuver abruptly, or at considerable speeds without discernible means of propulsion. In a small number of cases, military aircraft systems process radio frequency energy associated with UAP sightings. The UAP task force holds a small amount of data that appears to show UAP demonstrating acceleration or a degree of signature management. Additional rigorous analysis are necessary by multiple teams or groups of technical experts to determine the nature and the validity of this data. We are conducting further analysis to determine if breakthrough technologies are demonstrated. Meaning, this is real, there's a data there, this is technology, and the technology is doing stuff that we don't quite understand. We need more research, we need more, and by the way, they're not asking for more money for weapons and everything else. They're saying that they need more resources allocated to the study of this issue, and they need to get rid of this notion of ridicule associated with people reporting this issue because it's real, and they want as much data as they could possibly get. That's the report. All right, here's the other part. This is DNI Ratcliffe, Director of National Intelligence. At the very least, he used to be former. Listen to what Ratcliffe says after the report came out.
All about. So I'm glad that that information's out. The bottom line is, with unidentified aerial phenomenon, many cases, Dan, we're able to explain it away for reasons like visual disturbances or weather phenomenon or foreign adversaries and their technologies, or even our own experimental technologies with certain aircraft and vehicles. But what this report really underscores, Dan, is that that there are a number of instances, and the specific number remains classified, but a number of instances where we've ruled all of that out. And there are technologies that we don't have, and frankly, that we're not capable of defending against based on those things that we've seen, multiple sensors. In other words, where not just people visually see it, but where it's picked up on radar, where it's seen on satellites. And so, it's an issue of national security. And as the person who was informing policymakers about national security threats, it's not good to say, gosh, we don't have good answers. And so we have to have a larger discussion to try and figure out specifically, what this is all about. So I'm glad that that information's out. Look, the bottom line is, with unidentified aerial...
Ratcliffe is basically telling you that in common sense fashion, this report doesn't exist if these guys can isolate and eliminate what they think it is. He makes the point, we know what we have in our inventory on some level. We know on some level what other governments have in their inventory. Otherwise, there will be a radical failure of intelligence. As such, we are able to eliminate the overwhelming majority of the items associated with it from the standpoint of either us or from the standpoint of other foreign actors. We don't think it's a foreign actor, nor do we think it's us. Ratcliffe, he's being very straightforward. It's not just Ratcliffe. It's kind of my point. Listen to Mitt Romney, of all people, being asked about this. Listen to Romney.
Intelligence just a few days ago released a new report on 144 sightings of what they call unidentified aerial phenomena. Virtually all of them remain unexplained. Whatever these are, they appear to not only be technology that the United States does not have, but technology that we cannot even explain. I know a lot of people joke about this, but you're a national security hawk. How concerned are you about these objects, and where do you think they come from?
Well, I don't believe they're coming from foreign adversaries. If they were, why, that would suggest that they have a technology which is in a whole different sphere than anything we understand.
Notice something. We're talking about technology. We're talking about advanced technology. We're talking about technology that is so advanced that people look at, can't ascertain intent, nor can they ascertain how it's moving, how it's working, and how it's doing what it's doing. And from the standpoint of trying to replicate it, these guys are basically saying we can't replicate it. Not only can we not replicate it, we have no idea how it does what it does. We don't think it's China. We don't think it's Russia. That's what Mitt Romney just sat here and said. That should be mind-blowing on some level, but it's not just Mitt Romney. Let's keep going. Ratcliffe, Romney. Who else? We have, right here, NSA Administrator Bill Nelson. Nelson tells CNN the following. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson tells CNN's Pamela Brown that he has read the classified version of the U.S. intelligence report on the series of UFO sightings by Navy pilots and others, and he feels that we may not be alone in the galaxy. I've read the classified documents, and based on what I've read in the classified documents, no, it's possible we're not alone. It's not just Nelson, it's also Marco Rubio. Rubio, who probably pored over each and every word in this document, comes out and says, right here, for years, the men and women we trust to defend our country reported encounters with unidentified aircraft that had superior capabilities, and for years their concerns were often ridiculed. This report is an important first step in cataloging these incidents, but it's just a first step. The Department of Defense and intelligence community have a lot of work to do before we can actually understand whether these aerial threats present a serious national security concern. One, he's legitimizing what the pilots have been seeing, not just now, but also in the past when they're reporting unidentified aerial phenomena, and they're reporting that phenomena as being technology and that technology being superior. He is establishing that as a basis of fact as he moves forward, making the point and saying there's a lot of explaining to do to determine whether or not this advanced aircraft that our pilots are encountering in our sensitive installations represent a national security threat. This is profound. That's kind of my point. Don't underestimate the report. The report is the first step in saying this is real. And the moment that you said this is real, all sorts of things need to function and fall from that. And not just that, your paradigm has changed. Think of all the stuff that's associated with the UFO community that was entirely off the table because nobody even accepted the premise of it being real. Right now, people are infatuated with the report. But again, your paradigm has changed. The stuff that was in the UFO community, it was never considered real, is now on the table. Whatever that means. Your world has got far more complicated. That's the point I'm making. It's not just Bill Nelson. You also have, of course, the one and only Lou Elizondo. And Lou tells Washington Post this. For 30 years, there's been this undercurrent, if you will, these conspiracies that there was some sort of TR-3B program and some sort of super special technology that has been implemented and we've just been careless about it. And I think the argument was finally put to bed this week. So that only leaves two other options. And that's, again, it's foreign adversary or it's something quite different. And I think we're now beginning to learn we've heard from the Director of National Intelligence, and I can certainly tell you from my experience that we're pretty confident that it's not Russia or the Chinese technology, and there's several reasons for that. If you like, I'm more inclined and happy to go into it. And then he goes into explaining why. That's precisely one of the counter arguments. In fact, I'm not mistaken, as of today, we've had an announcement by former Director Ratcliffe who said this isn't Russian technology. And as we know from Glasnost and the fall of Berlin Wall, there was this 5-year romance period, if you will, between the United States and Russia, where we really began sharing a lot of information. And a lot of their, ironically enough, a lot of their UFO information wound up in our hands, and it turns out that they were experiencing the exact same issues from a UFO or UAP perspective that we were. So if you look at it, really, the timelines here, it's looking increasingly that it is some sort of Russian technology. This is not me saying it. This is people who had access to the classified reports, who was briefing Congress on these reports, and who have put themselves out there either politically, otherwise, to say, we don't think this is us. What those people are saying is going to be less relevant, though. What's going to be more relevant are the studies, the congressional hearings, and those things, like I said, it's going to be sausage making for UFOs. And it is going to be aggravating at times, especially for the UFO community. But all of that stuff is going to be to desensitize the public for the final realization of, we don't think it's us. And even then, you probably still get, we don't think it's us. We'll see. I could be wrong. I'm making the point of this video to say that there are a lot of other people out there who are looking at the classified data, who are coming back with an assessment that it's not us. And that, in and of itself, is profound. Despite that being profound, that is not necessarily the way this is going to go. This is going to go in this notion of, we need more hearings, we need more information, we need more data, we need more studies, we need more, etc., etc., etc. Nobody is going to take the step of coming out there, especially in the political space, just like Rubio. If you notice, Ratcliffe, not in politics right now. Romney will say that, but he would also downplay it in regards to importance, despite the fact that legitimizing the very act of technology that is more advanced than our own and that is invading our military installations, that is a mind-blowing realization that, I'm sorry, you can't really move on to something else the moment that you say that, especially since this has been going on for 30, 40 years. The point that I'm making here is, in the real world phenomena of things, in the way that the press and the media is going to accept it, what they're going to accept are the reports and the intelligence and the studies that are coming out, and that's going to be as a result of the congressional investigations and of reports like this that are going to be released. Yes, they're going to find of interest things that Romney and everyone else says, but from the standpoint of what's real and what is physical matter reality and flat fact true, what they're going to go by are studies just like the DNI report. That DNI report has basically changed the context of the world to where these guys are accepting this as a flat fact truth. And the moment that you accept it as a flat fact truth, there are certain things that fall from that. Either way, I'm just making the point of what I'm saying. I don't think it's us. That's not me pulling it out of my ass. The people who are associated, or who have access to this classified documents are coming away with a similar assessment. Like, share, and subscribe.